What's up, party people? My name is Christopher Alexander Robert Clark-Youngblood. Today is Saturday, November 8th, 2025, and it is 10:48 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm coming to you live, direct, and smoking hot from Portland, Oregon, kind of Beaverton, Portland suburbs-ish. And we are deep into fall, and it feels like my time here is coming to an end. But fortunately and unfortunately, as you can see, we've had as you can see, the weather right now is beautiful, man. It's Portland is all it's cracked up to be, both from a climate perspective, a political perspective. But as with everything, you take the good with the bad, and there are brief moments and days when the rain stops, the sun comes out, you appreciate it deeply, and you get to enjoy kind of a different aspect of sunny weather than you would in other places. I'm used to very more arid or humid sunny environments, from the dirty south of America down to the dirty south below Mexico, Central America, to the arid deserts of Phoenix, Arizona, where I've spent much of my time, or the beachy deserts of Los Angeles, California, where I've spent much of my life as well. I love the sun. I think it is essential to happiness and well-being. Being here in Portland has been the ultimate challenge to my sun addiction, but even still, in the midst of foggy, rainy, I'm going to stay unpolitical in my commentary, foggy, rainy weather, you can find moments of brilliance and sunniness to keep us alive. I'm making a concerted effort every day. I feel good. I'm just kind of flowing. I'm going to drink some more fucking caffeine. I'm making a concerted effort every day to still get my feet in the grass. It feels so good. I'm telling y'all, you need to get your naked feet in the grass every day, no matter where you live. You have to get your feet in the grass. You have to get sun on your face. I promise it's better for your existence. I can feel it. As soon as I take my shoes off and get in the grass, I feel this like rush of energy and connectedness to like the greater being of the universe that I think is essential. And when I don't get it, I feel it too. Back in the belly of the beast, Burbank, Los Angeles, California last weekend. No grass anywhere to be seen. I feel like I got a lot more energy in the mornings when I'm hype up on caffeine rather than at 9 p.m. at night when I'm 2 joints deep. Caffeine is worn off and I've done a fucking 3-hour martial arts workout. I just woke up this morning, made my bed, hung out with my little ladies, drank some caffeine, smoked a J, headed out to this park, and I'm feeling ready to rock, man. So maybe this is the best way for me to do this podcast. Anyway, yeah, man. I love LA. I love the sun. I love the vibrancy of the city. But when I'm back there, I need to make sure I'm getting my feet in the grass. I was so lucky with my previous life, which seems so long but so short ago, living in the Casita Guest House in Highland Park, Los Angeles, Northeast Los Angeles. Sunshine every day, my own little house, beautiful, perfect backyard where I could do yoga whenever I wanted. Appreciate what you got when you got it, and appreciate this when I've got it too, living in the dank, dark basement here in Portland, grasping at every moment of sunshine that I can, clinging to it like a life raft back to peacefulness. No, I'm kidding. I'm being exaggerating. It's been cool being out here. Martial arts keeps me consistent and psychologically stable every day. I feel like my martial arts practice, my jiu-jitsu practice is really developing nicely. I feel like I'm entering, like, there's a flow state, man, you get into, and I've only been in a few gyms, and one of the gyms I did go to in LA was called Flow State. I thought it was the perfect name because when you hit that flow state, that place of no mind, the place of moving meditation and martial arts, as with any activity, that, when the higher power takes over, man, it's a beautiful thing. And, man, I'm doing some pretty cool stuff in the gym just in practice, and honestly, it's enough for me. I don't even feel like I need to do competition. I know where I stand at every gym I've been to. I know where I stand on a daily basis against my teammates and competitors, and I'm really satisfied with my progress as a martial artist. And I'm telling you, man, getting to this place more and more in jiu-jitsu where I just turn my mind off and I'm flowing, and all of a sudden I'm just doing these techniques I don't even know it's really happening. Like, I'm just like, a higher power is taking over my body. That's the muse, right? You hear artists talk about that. You hear musicians talk about that. And poets, they don't really know where these words come from or this music comes from. It just is like this higher power is taking over, and I can feel that on a daily basis in martial arts and in yoga as well sometimes. Although my yoga practice is kind of monotonous right now because I've been doing the same fucking routine for a decade. But I love it, and it keeps me grounded and healthy, so I'm cool with that too. Man, but there's definitely this other dimension out there, man. There's infinity that exists. There's definitely something more than we understand by like standard Western science materialistic explanations of existence. There's like, listen, I don't know, I don't have exact words or description for it, but there's more to this world than like standard academics and intellectuals who think they know it all and have PhDs in physics would let you believe. I don't think atheism. I think atheism is kind of very short-sighted, actually, in its full comprehension of the experience we're having here. Agnosticism, like leaving an open question, is I think a much more accurate way to go. But to each their own, that's everybody's journey. But I really do know that we have a soul inside of us that is like this open farmland or apartment building or whatever piece of property that we are charged with cultivating. And that's what we're left with when we leave this earth, is that soul and how much we've cultivated it. And so that might be your own personal hell if you haven't done cultivating it, or it might be your own personal heaven if you spend some time cultivating it. And I don't know, this is just a very general description of what I'm starting to understand about reality and post-earthly reality. But yeah, I feel that very much. Talking to my buddy Jason at the gym. Shout out Jason if this podcast ever makes its way to you. You're a good training partner and a smart dude, and I enjoyed my time I spent with you. Tell me about a time he's on shrooms. He's plays professional poker, and he can start seeing people's auras, and not in any sort of like hallucinogenic way. But man, if you start to experience psychedelics in a responsible way, especially mushrooms is really the only thing I have extensive experience with. It reveals truths to you that you understand in a level beyond your mind and a deeper part of your soul. And some of it is like, it is kind of like trippy and fun, but you start to recognize like, oh, that's almost like an illusion. And then you start to recognize like, oh, there's other part of this mushroom experience is also like, the ultimate truth. Your truths are revealed to you, and that can be purely kind of like intellectual or spiritual knowledge, but it can actually be visual as well for some people. He's talking to me how he's at this poker game, could start seeing everyone around him at the table's auras. Some people had like bright and shiny auras, some people had dark auras, some people had a mix of auras. The person had the darkest aura in the room was dead 2 months later, and I completely understand that. It sounds crazy when explaining it to you, but if you're dabbling in psychedelics, at least much, once again, I won't say psychedelics. I'm not some sort of like psychonaut pioneer or anything. I just do a lot of mushrooms. I grow my own mushrooms, do mushrooms as regular as I can, hopefully to get out in the mushroom world later today or tomorrow. It's been a couple weeks trying to get on a heavy dose of mushrooms at least once a month and get out in the woods here in Portland. I only got 8 more weeks left out here in the woods in Portland. And so trying to take advantage of it. But yeah, there's more going on than meets the eye, certainly. And, man, I want to get more into investigating that and getting more into reading actual traditional religious texts and see what kind of truths are revealed in the past, what we knew in the past, some of the knowledge that perhaps has been lost. I do also believe a lot of these major religions were based on psychedelic rituals, and a lot of that has been co-opted by authority figures, both religious and governmental, to kind of consolidate the power for themselves, and in a very kind of human, evil way, government and religious authorities have positioned themselves as the ultimate authority rather than the actual higher power, which I think is the psychedelic substances are a tool for us to access that higher power. Yeah. What else is cracking? Yo, I just want to speak on a couple things I've experienced here in Portland over the last couple of weeks. They're political, and I don't want to. I'm not. Hopefully, y'all know me well enough to know that, like, I don't pick a side, Democrat or Republican. I consider myself libertarian, for lack of a better description, but even harder core than that, maybe like an anarchist. I believe in as limited government as possible. I believe taxation inherently is a necessary evil, but is ultimately theft. And if taxation is not implemented in a moral way, then you're just stealing people's money. I believe income tax, for instance, is evil and theft outright. The very existence of income tax itself is an ill on society that should be eradicated. Sales tax is the only tax that I am currently aware of that I find, and capital gains, sales capital gains, which kind of, I feel like capital gains tax is a form of sales tax. That's the only moral taxation that I believe in. And so I believe in a very limited taxation, very limited government. I believe in law enforcement. I believe in the judicial system. I'd be down for some kind of sort of universal healthcare system, actually. When you start getting into, roads, okay, education, maybe, but I'm kind of very lukewarm on public education. I'd be very limited government, man. Certainly the authority wielded by the United States federal government is the ultimate example of not the ultimate example, fucking North Korea and China are the ultimate example, but like for America, this great experiment in freedom and individual liberty, what the U.S. federal government has become is despicable and should be greatly reduced, if not eradicated altogether. Certainly the existence of an executive branch and a supreme leader, so to speak, like a Barack Obama, a George Bush, a Donald Trump, a Joe Biden, entirely antiquated and ultimately detrimental to society. So I don't take any sort of political left or right leanings. My political viewpoints and more of like life philosophy. I don't even think political viewpoints. I don't have like political viewpoints. I have more of a life philosophy about individual liberty and how you treat people and how people should be left to their own devices to manage their own lives. And the non-aggression principle and the golden rule and that sort of things, like just treat people how you want to be treated. You don't need the government to fucking tell you how to treat people, or treat yourself, most importantly, or your children, perhaps most importantly. Anyway, those things can cross over both left and right lines. So as far as like taxation, I believe in limited government regulation and taxation. That's kind of a right-wing thing. I believe in certainly the right to bear arms. That's a right-wing thing. But also I believe in a woman's rights to choose. Very left-wing thing. I believe in the legalizations of all quote-unquote illicit substances. That's a left-wing thing. I definitely believe in the right of immigration. I'm honestly believe in open borders. Straight up. I don't give a fuck. Criticize me all you want. It's complete horseshit that depending on what plot of dirt you've slipped out of a vagina in, that's where you're like allowed to roam and operate your life for the rest of your existence. Fuck that. The earth is for all earthlings. Fuck that shit. I should be able to live in China, Mozambique, Honduras, wherever the fuck I want without any sort of governmental intervention. Go fuck yourself. I'm saying that to government, not to any individual who's trying to tell me where I can and cannot live. And so certainly the type of deportations that I see happening in our country now are absolutely despicable. And while I would say over the last, decade or so, I've become more kind of annoyed and critical of liberals. I find it kind of very humorous and whiny and like little whiny children, kind of what the Democratic Party has become in a lot of ways. I certainly stand with anyone that opposes these deportations. Absolutely despicable, man. I had a guy kind of hit me. I was on last time I did shrooms. Actually, I had two kind of political-ish experiences. I fuck them on shrooms. I get to get these experiences. You get like supersonic hearing, and I start to overhear things in Portland. I'm like, holy shit, that's exactly what the stereotype of Portland. One was I just got back from a shroom trip, and there's this dude that always walks around my neighborhood, and he always walks like very aggressively and like he's stressed out, and he was doing that again, and I was just kind of like stand to the side of him, give him a little wave, like, hey buddy, it's all good, man, smoke some weed. But this time he's huffing and puffing, and he's always on the phone talking to somebody, but this time I could overhear exactly what he's talking about, and he's saying 22 years, working hard, and now he's gone, they just took him. And so I just pulled this, and he starts ranting and raving. You've got homeless people on the sidewalks. You've got people doing drugs, robbing houses and cars, and they stay here 22 years, my guy. And so I pulled this to the side, and I could tell what he's talking about. He's clearly got a guy, a friend, an employee, something, who's an illegal immigrant who's been here for 22 years, working hard, starting a family, and now he's gone, deported, for no other crime than being, a hardworking member of our community. And this fucking place, Portland, all these left-wing states and cities that have these robust social safety nets are crawling with fucking degenerate drug addicts. It's disgusting, man. And we tolerate that shit. And so I pulled the dude aside. I was like, listen, brother, I'm with you 100%. I hear your frustration. There's nothing I can do for you other than to give you some empathy, sympathy, or like pat on the back, give you a hug, man. This dude, an employee that's working hard him for 22 years. He got kids in school here in Portland. He gets fucking deported. Meanwhile, you walk out the any fucking major intersection here in Portland, you've got complete fucking trash begging for handouts. They're all fucking fat. What the fuck you need free food for, fat ass? It's ridiculous. Laziness, degeneration of the human condition is openly accepted and tolerated and almost like positioned on a pedestal in these liberal societies and these liberal areas. It's ridiculous, man. The fact that we have a homeless budget in California, I don't listen, man. I'm not into it. I can't fucking cite you facts and figures. But I can guarantee you probably all states and certainly more liberal states have a budget of taxpayer money to address homelessness. You're talking millions, if not billions of dollars on homelessness. The budget to address homelessness should be $0. There should not be a single dollar of taxpayer money spent on fucking homelessness. You're not allowed to live on the streets. You're not allowed to openly use drugs on the streets. Go do that shit in the privacy of your own home. In order to get a home, you got to get a job. You need to earn money. You need to pay rent. There's plenty of public land. This country is full of public fucking land all over the place if you want to exist with outside the confines of traditional society. I know it's fucked up. We were all just born into this capitalist society where you got to immediately start getting a job and working and paying bills. That is what it is. If you want to live like within modern fucking society in the Western world in a fucking city, you have the option, though, to go live in the goddamn woods. No one's going to bother you. You go live on BLM land in the middle of fucking Utah. No one's even going to know. Go for it. Go do all the fucking fentanyl you want out there. No one's going to bother you. Not next to schools. Not next to children in fucking car seats at 9 a.m. in the morning trying to go to school. Dude, you go down to, at least in Portland, it's kind of tame. It's just fat, lazy people asking for money addicted to drugs. Dude, in L.A., it's like rampant, degenerate, devilish behavior. Dudes are like literally sucking each other's dicks on the street corner, fucking each other in the ass on the street corner when you've got your fucking little girl in the backseat on the way to preschool. What the fuck are we doing? Deport those motherfuckers. It's outrageous. I'm sorry to speak so angrily and whatever. And anyway, I need to learn how to manage my messaging more correctly and more like peacefully. Because I do feel deep inner peace inside, and that's why I think I feel so confident to speak out loud of this, because I'm speaking from a place of peace and like complete conviction inside. So anyway, I'll find a way to position my messaging better. But dude, we're fucking deporting people, hardworking people, and allowing homelessness to exist rampantly on our streets. Is like, I feel like evil has infected our society. That's fucking nuts. And there's some things I like about Trump or whatever. There's some things I like about this like rampant right-wing like takeover or whatever that's happening from the federal level. There's things I like about it. I like that he plays hardball with China. I like that what do I actually like about this fucking guy? Maybe I just like that he talks shit. I think more than anything, I'm not a Trump guy. I think I just like that I know who he is. What I like about Trump is that I know who he is. I know this guy's a kind of like evil megalomaniac who's going to do rampant right-wing shit because he's telling you that to your face. So at least I know it. Whereas left-wing Democratic candidates, those are wolf in sheep's clothing. They're all beholden to corporate interests. They're going to do what's best for business, but they're going to pretend like they like the little man. And then they're going to do like all of these. So they're really getting their dick sucked by, or sucking the dick of corporations behind the scenes, and they're going to do in the macro level what's good for business. And then like the shell that they're going to put in front is all these kind of like democratic liberal policies that are just wasting money and ultimately making situations worse than they would be. Like giving, for instance, just as an example, like healthcare or money to Ukraine, right? It's like you position all these things like, oh, this, or fucking COVID. You're creating all of these problems or presenting all these like kind of small issues as huge issues, taking people's hardworking Americans' money to quote unquote solve these issues and position yourself as the savior. But in fact, you're just pouring money into a worse situation. So you're just pouring money into a war in Ukraine. It's just going to give more war. You're pouring money into homelessness. It's just going to create more homelessness. You're pouring money into vaccines and COVID. It's just going to create more viruses and disease, right? So I appreciate the Republican position more where it's like, these are the problems. We're just going to ignore them. Handle it on your own. We're not going to take people's money to try to solve quote-unquote problems, right? But both sides do it too, because Republicans traditionally love war, and so obviously that's huge money you're spending elsewhere. But Democrats all of a sudden become way into war with everything that's going on in Ukraine. Anyway, I'm fucking rambling. I sound like a fucking maniac, and I am a maniac. But I believe what I say, and I think it's these are not narratives that are traditionally presented. Certainly not in the liberal cities or kind of social groups that are predominate like educated American society, coastal society, East and West Coast. But I think these sentiments are a lot more prevalent, but people are just scared to share them due to social stigma. Anyway, I'll leave the other one because I've said too much about this. I just had fuck it. I had another experience in Portland with these two women. We're talking. I was just on shrooms with my buddy Jordan. He didn't do any shrooms. We just doing hiking on the shrooms. I drove him back to his house, dropped him off, and right outside my window, these two women are talking about how like they're dissatisfied with their marriages, and they're like not having enough sex in their marriages, but they like their husbands, but they both have daughters, and they both said that they're explicitly teaching their daughters that men don't like kids. I don't remember the exact narrative of the conversation, but basically the gist of the conversation was, yeah, I just have to tell little Susie that men are mean to kids, and most men like kids. And so your best choice then is to be a lesbian. This is actually what two moms were saying to each other about their young daughters. They were saying that they tell their daughters that most men don't like kids, most men are mean to their kids, therefore your best romantic option is to be a lesbian. Swear to God. And these are heterosexual women. Because then they proceed to complain about how, well, then they both said that they tell their daughters how lucky they are to have met their father, their current husband, because he's like this 1 in a million guy who actually doesn't hate kids. And so they got so lucky. Your dad actually doesn't hate kids. He's the 1 in a million guy. But you're probably not going to ever meet a man like that who doesn't hate kids. Most men hate kids, and so you're better off being a lesbian. Swear to God, this is the conversation that's being had. I sat there for like 15 minutes to listen to it. Outside my window. Outside, buddies, Jordan's apartment building over here. Two women across the street on the sidewalk over here. My windows are down. I'm smoking weed. Just sit here and listen to this conversation. Then they both proceed to say how they're both dissatisfied sexually in their marriages. They're both like, I tell, what's their husband's, Dave. I tell Dave that if he wants to have sex, the time to do it is now. Because they're both middle-aged, like my age, they're probably late 30s. That menopause is coming, and if that he wants to have sex, the best time to do it is now. So on one hand, they're saying that all men hate kids. The other hand, they're saying they want their men to fuck them. It's like, dude, why don't you think your dude wants to fuck you? It's because you're this ultra-liberal, rampant feminist who's preaching, like, hardcore anti-men ideology to your daughter. But then you want your husband to come down and, like, smash you doggy style, like, gives you some spankings. Like, bitch, get your narrative straight. Sorry, I don't want to call people a bitch. That's people, dude, there's like this rampant feminist ideology that has infected, it's certainly infected like the education system, universities and all that shit, and it's clearly parents are teaching their kids. This heterosexual women are telling their daughters don't become a lesbian because men hate kids. The fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? Please go to your next door neighbor. I mean, you live in like this is a nice neighborhood of Portland. All of these houses are traditional families, nuclear families. All the vast majority in this upper scale neighborhood, the vast majority of your child's classmates come from 2-parent families. You don't live in the inner city. Please go to school. Please go to your neighbors in your neighborhood, to all the dads, and tell them that they hate their kids. Most men hate their kids. What the fuck are you talking about? This is real shit. I'm not making this shit up. This is real shit. I can't believe shit sometimes. I'm like living in a simulation. It's like this, I can't be that liberal, can't be that liberal. Oh, people aren't really like telling their kids to be lesbians. Dude, every transgender, quote unquote transgender kid that I've met in my time working in LA and Portland, their parents are like rampant liberals. Like, what's the term? In your face, virtue signaling liberals. Wearing the Black Lives Matter t-shirts, hanging some photo, weird fucking flag outside their window, some sort of liberal fucking haircut, weird situation where the dad acts like a girl, and it's like, wait, is this a nature and nurture situation? It seems to me the only kids I know who are transgender, their parents are like ultra liberal, in your face liberal, boycotting always some company. So let's be careful, y'all. There's definitely a philosophy being instilled at a young age, wherever it comes from. I think it might come from China to just totally fucking destabilize American culture because everyone becomes transgender, then ultimately the species dies. It's very simple. You need man, woman, procreation to create human beings. If all of a sudden you don't have man or woman or men or listen, I'm all for doing whatever you want, but ultimately, like if this sort of thing is like some sort of like growing whatever, and the best way to be is a lesbian because men hate kids, well, if we all start adopting that philosophy, ultimately the species doesn't exist anymore. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, man, but I'm hearing this shit, I'm seeing this shit, and it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's hilarious. I try to pick a fucking lighthearted view of it, but also like can be both a very lighthearted and angry individual at the same time, right? So it's like throughout my life, I was raised a lot of moderate childhood trauma. I would say severe psychological issues as a kid, childhood abandonment, no father. So both I've learned how to like take life joyfully and lightheartedly, but also like I harbor deep-seated anger, so it's a constant balance of those things. So anyway, sports, y'all. NFL, shout out, head coach Mike McDonald, dude, our Lord and Savior. Mike, I love you, buddy. We're probably up to like 10 straight unresponded to texts, so I'm going to call it off. I might hit you up one more time on Facebook Messenger just to tell you I love you and wish you the best. But it's going to be hard for me to continue being like diehard. I mean, of course, I love the guy. Always. I'll be a Seahawks fan, but I can't be like obsessed listening to press conferences, listening to Seahawks podcasts, knowing the whole roster when I actually don't really have a relationship with the guy anymore because like we grew up together, but it's not like I'm like, it was cool last season where I could send him a text every week like, hey, great win, Jason's tearing it up. He's like, yeah, man, he sent some back, but now it's just nothing. And so I feel like an annoyance, and now I feel kind of embarrassed about it all, actually. And in general, I want to kind of move away from my session with sports and start getting more into learning about the cosmos and the history of Earth and the history of humanity and shit like that. And I've already started my initial investigations and kind of research and note-taking for that next stage of what the podcast will be in 2026. But Seahawks are rocking. We love Coach Mike. This ramp to ultimate success is happening even faster than I thought. This team could win the Super Bowl this year. 100% this team could win the Super Bowl this year. So keep rocking it. My old hoe, the Vikings looking sharp. I don't know. Listen, as I'm starting to talk about the NFL, I have like a fraction of the juice and energy to speak on it that I did for the previous 27 minutes about random fucking life and political philosophy. So I'll just go with that flow. NFL's cool. My fantasy team, I really do fantasy football and betting on NFL, but like, I don't know. It's whatever. College football is more fun, to be quite honest, as I say every fucking week. Dogs are rocking. They got Mississippi State this weekend. Looking ahead for the playoffs. LSU finally got their shit together and fired that fuckface Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's definitely been to Epstein's Island. He's got that vibe. 100% Brian Kelly been to Epstein's Island, I'm saying it here. Maybe not 100%. 99 just gives myself some plausible deniability. Don't sue me, Brian Kelly. But he's got that vibe. He's got Epstein Island vibe. Never liked that guy. Bring back Coach O. And then UFC. Holy motherfucking shit, dude. The UFC. So the last pay-per-view was UFC 321. Tom Aspinall, Surreal Gone for the UFC Heavyweight Championship. Tom Aspinall the fight gets called a no contest because of an eye poke. That was the last major event. The following event, UFC Apex whatever, was last weekend. David Onama versus Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia beats David Onama in the main event. Kind of inconsequential card. You know, they often do this stuff. UFC kind of has like a lower level card right after a pay-per-view. Bruh, there was a thrown fight on this card. I'm going to speak on this particular controversy, and I think that's going to be it for the week. Let me see if I have any notes. Get myself ramped up for this one. I actually made notes this week on like what I want to talk about. Let's see. No money for homeless? Check. Two ladies hate men? Check. Walk guy, 22 years deportation? Yep, check. Jason Flote, shrooms, dimensions, soul, auras? Check. Okay, now I can. Those are all kind of the bigger topics, more consequential topics I want to speak on. Now, let's go on this UFC betting scandal. This last UFC Apex card, there's a dude on the fight named Isaac Dolgarian. He's American guy. He's fighting a dude from Cuba, Del Valle or some shit. Isaac Dolgarian is huge favorite, like 4-1 favorite, 3-1 favorite going into the fight. I bet on him. I remember because I took him to get better odds. I took him to win, but for his opponent to make it out of the second round to get better odds because it's a huge favorite. All of a sudden, 30 minutes before the fight, his odds like cut in half. He goes from like a 4-1 favorite to a 2-1 favorite 30 minutes before the fight, which is like way more betting activity than you would traditionally see. Way more line movement, especially 30 minutes before the fight, than you'd see under normal circumstances. Excuse me, sorry for burping. In particular, tons of money coming in on him to lose in the first round, which makes no sense because he's a huge favorite. Money for him to lose in the first round that's huge odds. It's like 10-1 odds, something like that, right? But great payout. UFC gets notice of this. Twitter's blowing up, social media's blowing up that like people are noticing online that the line movement. The UFC allegedly has a independent bet monitoring firm that they contract for this sort of thing to make them aware of any betting irregularities and kind of keep things as much as they can on the up and up as far as betting goes. This company alerts the UFC, alerts Dana White. Dana White, allegedly, and the UFC contact the fighter right before his fight, like, an hour leading up to the fight. Say, hey, man, there's this crazy betting irregularity in the fight. Is there something going on? Are you hurt? Are you throwing this fight? Did someone approach you to throw this fight? Are you in debt? What's going on, man? The fighter claims everything's kosher. Isaac Dolgarian, fighter's name. This dude, huge favorite, big prospect, smashing dudes in his previous fights. Wrestling in particular, his ground game, jiu-jitsu, excellent. He goes out and gets finished in the first round by rear naked choke with grappling defense, grappling technique, wrestling technique that is like white belt level. I'm a blue belt. There's one step above white belt. I could see that. Dude, my teeth are shit. Speaking of blue belt, those are my teeth. Speaking of blue belt, I'm chipping the fuck out of my teeth in jiu-jitsu, and I don't wear a mouth guard because it fucks with my breathing. I'm not going to wear a mouth guard either. Anyway, Dolgarian goes out losing the first round, making white belt techniques. The broadcast is calling it out. The post-fight show, Michael Chiesa is calling it out. This guy is clearly either like he's very sick, very injured, or something fuck's going on because he's a way better fighter than the skills he put on. He was making basic errors in his defense and lost early on because of it in a way that, based on his previous fights, never should have put on that kind of performance. Immediately, he gets cut from the UFC, and Dana White calls the FBI to investigate. It's clearly through this fight, based on the betting activity and his performance. This dude he currently trains, I think it's in Dallas at this gym called Factory X. Previously, he trained in Kansas City at a gym called Glory MMA. Glory MMA had been run by a coach named James Krause. A few years ago, 3 to 5 years ago, James Krause was arguably the best coach in MMA. His gym, Glory MMA in Kansas City, was probably the hottest gym in the sport, producing champions. Guy just really had like a savvy eye for the game, hot young coach. He did an interview, James Krause, with preeminent MMA journalist Ariel Helwani around this time, 3 to 5 years ago. And in the interview, I was shocked. I listened to it live when it initially came out, that he makes more money betting on MMA than he does coaching MMA, and that he has a very successful MMA betting chat, like subscription service, Discord service, and also betting podcasts. That raised a lot of red flags. This coach is generating so much money betting on MMA. I mean, if you're only betting on your fighters or other fighters, okay, but what if you're betting against your fighters? It seems like a major conflict of interest there. Not too long after that, I think just a couple months after that, one of his fighters, exact same situation as we saw last week in the UFC. Derek Minner, UFC fighter, heavy favorite going in the fight. Major line movements in the hour leading up into the fight for this heavy favorite to lose in the first round. Turns out he goes out there, loses in the first round, immediately cut by the UFC, alleged FBI investigation. But I knew at the time nothing was going to become of this shit. The UFC still is very Wild West, backwater shit. Dana White is very politically connected, especially with the current administration, the current FBI director, Kash Patel. I knew nothing was going to come out of this because it's way too... It's a potential existential catastrophic issue for the UFC. It's way too explosive to like dig into this. And you know this guy isn't the only guy. It's the same thing I was saying about the NBA with Donaghy's situation. It's not just one dude. There's just, this one ref betting on this one ref involved with the mob. Oh, it all stops here. Fuck that. You think the mob is just stopping at one ref? If this is happening, if there's smoke, there's fire. But these leagues have no incentive to like do a full-scale open-source investigation. It could bring down the whole league. It completely undermines the foundation and integrity of the league, and it's rife for a competitor to come in. And then once you got fucking federal investigators coming in with unlimited resources, like, now you've got all these politicians wanting to position themselves, and it's like they just don't want it. But it's happening again. The UFC didn't address it a few years ago with James Krause and Derek Minner and that whole situation. Anyway, the connection I forgot to make. Isaac Dogarian, the fighter from this last card, he used to train before James Krause got caught at Glory MMA with James Krause. So clearly this guy was connected to like betting and got involved with betting with James Krause in Kansas City. James Krause gets caught throwing fights. He's kicked out. He's blackballed from the UFC altogether. All of his UFC fighters have to leave 500 gyms. Isaac Dogarian goes to Factory X, and he's still betting on fights. And he's probably either in deep, in debt, whatever. You don't know. Whatever it is, he's involved with some shady characters. He's throwing fights. And you think this guy's the only fucking guy? No way. There are other fights on that card where I was like, dude, that looks suspect. That guy's jiu-jitsu's horrible. As a matter of fact, I might have spoken on this on podcast before. I regularly see in UFC events jiu-jitsu technique that looks completely white belt. These are professional fighters at the highest level, and I see things on a regular basis, especially in lower level cards, where there's less attention on it and more easier to fix. I see jiu-jitsu technique that's like, my jiu-jitsu technique is way better than theirs, and these motherfuckers are in the UFC. Jiu-jitsu is going to be the way we throw it. It's less obvious to like the average viewer if jiu-jitsu technique is bad. You're certainly not going to like give shitty defense on your stand-up. You're going to get knocked the fuck out. It's much easier to allow your opponent to lock in a rear naked choke, let it sink in, and you tap. It's relatively easy to throw a fight in that sense, as opposed to stand-up. So anyway, I don't know. It's like, all of this raises major questions about the integrity of the sport. All of this raises major questions about, like, what the fuck are we doing watching this shit? I'm already going through a bit of an existential crisis, like how much time I'm spending watching these sports, and something like this happens. I was like, well, man, I just need to give this shit up altogether. I don't know. I do love the practice of it. I don't know. It's a crazy story. I want to investigate it more because I knew back at the time that when the James Krause situation was going on a few years ago, I knew no one was going to investigate it. You never heard an update on the story. And just kind of, UFC got what they wanted. They swept it under the rug. I'm hoping the same doesn't happen here. It'd be awesome. I don't want people to go to jail or anything, but it would be awesome if the FBI, the UFC, actually does some legitimate investigation. You could have a sick fucking documentary on this, and it'd be good to know if, like, be nice to know, man, is this ripe? Is this sport ripe with corruption? It's easy. It's easy to see how it would be. These fighters are getting paid like $10,000 potentially a fight. I think the entry level contract in the UFC is $12,000 a show, $12,000 to win. So you show up and lose your first UFC fight. You got made $12,000. You might have been training for 6 months. A lot of these guys have to have side jobs or like literally go into debt to afford their training camps. And so all of a sudden some dude comes to you and he's like, hey, man, you want $150K to throw this fight? I don't know what the max payout is on these. Dude, let's just say even the max bet like a sportsbook would take is $5 or $10K. All you got to do is open up multiple accounts across multiple sportsbooks and just place a fuck ton of wagers with multiple different individuals, all at $5,000. If you make place 100 different bets at $5,000, that's $500,000 you're betting on a dude to win 8-1, 10-1, $500,000 on 10-1 odds of this dude to lose in the first round. That's $5 million. Give it $100,000. It's a great business. The economics add up. It's relatively fucking simple. So maybe this dude was running his own operation. I don't know, but it's very interesting. And at a sport like MMA, it's going to be easier to convince someone to do it because they make so little money. But I haven't looked into I don't know the details of the NBA betting scandal with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier and the Trailblazers and all that shit. But those guys are making millions too, and clearly they got caught up in it as well. So who knows? I guess if you are a gambler, if you have a gambling addiction, you're going to be betting at scale of your income. So, I bet $10 on a football game. Well, if I made $100 million, if I was Chauncey Billups, maybe I'm betting $100,000 on a football game. So, if you have a legitimate addiction and you have money, who knows? Maybe you're a millionaire and it doesn't take long before you're going broke to fucking shady gambling characters. Maybe you're millions of dollars in debt to shady gambling characters. Or if you're Isaac Delgarian, UFC fighter, you're tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to gambling figures. And they're like, all right, wipe out this debt if you throw this fight. Or, we'll kill you. Or whatever. Sorry. Cough directly into the mic there. So, yeah, that's what's popping with UFC. UFC's fucking weird, man. It's shady. Dana's shady. I love and respect Dana White for building essentially an entire industry of mixed martial arts. But, from day one, you've known this guy's a shady character. Talk about a guy who I question how much time he's been spending. I think that's a perfect guy like Dana White, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, all these motherfuckers, Kamala Harris. How much time are these people spending on cultivating their earthly existence? How much time are these people spending cultivating their soul existence? I just imagine that, Dana White's soul is not, his soul world is not super fertile. I don't know. Maybe it is. He seems like a nice guy in a lot of ways, too. I know he does nice things and helps out people, too, but I don't know, man. I appreciate what he's done. I respect the guy, obviously, tremendously. He might be the next president of this country, if I'm being honest. He might be the next president. He might follow Trump. But it is often hard to be a huge UFC fan and have him be the front man, even though I do respect what he has done and accomplished. And I still respect him today. I respect what he's doing and what he's attempting to do in boxing. I honestly respect what he's attempting to do with getting rid of the Ali Act, and I respect what he does as far as positioning my favorite sport. He used to make a lot more of an effort, but as the head of my favorite sport and a very influential figure, I respect him. But as a businessman, but I don't know, as a human being, it can be tough. Anyway, we're about 45 minutes in this motherfucker. I gotta pee. It's Saturday. I'm gonna try to hit some shrooms later today. Go for a hike. Tomorrow, Sunday, going to a professional women's soccer league game with the girls and their parents, the Portland Thorns. I got 3 more weeks in Portland, and then my family and my beautiful lady are coming for Thanksgiving. And then it's going to be about 3 more weeks after that. We got Christmas. I got about 8 more weeks left here in Portland. Things are going well with the lady. Looking like I'll be heading out at the end of the year. I have no idea what I'm going to do next professionally. I'll be sure to keep you all updated. I'm thinking, I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts. That's kind of a whole different episode. Every day, all day, every day. Almost in an OCD way, I think about what I'm going to do next. But I'm really trying to manage that anxiety and those thoughts because that kind of swirling, racing anxiety has caused me major issues in the past. I'm actually very proud of myself for how I'm managing my psychology given the uncertainty in the upcoming months. I'm actually feel very stable and at peace and happy and chill. And I wish the same for you all. I love you all. Find love, find light, find peace, find presence. There's a lot more going on to this earthly existence than what meets our eye, and I believe it's calm, peaceful, and ultimately based in love. So we just need to find some quiet stillness and connect with that as much as we can. I love you all. Namaste. Mwah.